All right, here we go. Welcome, y'all, to the Craft of Analog. I'm Jason with Jason Neal Pinworks, and I started this channel to kind of migrate over from Instagram. So I've been doing this for a few years now. I've got about 70 videos over there on Instagram, and wanted to start using the YouTube platform, better format, getting better quality audio and video. Speaking of which, I need to check and make sure all that is working. I believe, hey, it looks like we're good. This is the first stream, so we'll see what happens. But we are working on, let me back up. So if you're not familiar with my shop, Jason Neal Penworks, I make fountain pens. That is a thing, and I've been doing it for about 8 years now. This year will be my 9th. And yeah, so that is what this will be. This will be behind the scenes, checking out how I do my work, giving tips and techniques for people who want to get into this. So it's kind of for everybody. If you're into pens, into making pens, or if you just like watching interesting videos, this one's for you. So I'm going to jump straight into it. I'll be working on a material of mine called Graphlex, which is my own proprietary material I make in the shop. This one has blue and copper in it, and I've got a complementary, so you can see there we go, complementary section, the grip part. So and as we get into it, I'll try and describe things, what I'm doing, and the parts of the pen, if you're not familiar with it, and the tools I'm using, techniques. But yeah, so I've got my computer up, so if you have any questions, want to say hi, chat, whatever you want, I will check it from time to time as I'm working, and we can have interesting conversation. So without further ado, we are going to get going. So I always start with the section first. So we get that set up. That kind of defines everything on the pen. So there's 3 parts to the pen: the section, which is your grip. So it's typically called a grip section. The body, which holds the ink. So the section holds the nib, the body holds the ink. And the cap, of course, caps it all off. So the first thing I'm going to do in the section, I use a square carbide tool to face off the end of the pen blank. So it's nice and flush. And then I'm going to mark out where to start making the tenon. So this is going to be where the threads go. That's going to vary depending on the particular pen design. I'm just slowly cutting down to the size I need. I'm going to check because I think I'm close. I'm going to cut down to the size I need for this particular thread size. Getting close. The key with turning the tenon is depending on the taps and dies that you're using. You want it to be slightly smaller than the final dimension, just so that the threads cut really well. What I'm doing right now is I provide a little shoulder here, just a design feature for my pins. Ooh, that was really close. Tight. See how that goes. I measure a lot as I'm doing this. Sometimes I get a little close. I think it'll be okay. So now I'm just cutting another shoulder in where the threads are going to be. Most of this is aesthetic, but it does help the part sit a little better. Sit a little better in the pin. Work. I'm gonna actually. It's really hard for me to schedule these things, so I'm gonna go throw this up on the Instagram. Let's see here. Let's do this. Should have done this beforehand, but oh well. We'll get there. Let's see. Hey, Sean, how's it going? I'm right in the middle. I should have shared all this before I went live, but you know, learning new things. How about that? Oh well, that'll work. All right, we're good. Now we're back. Cool. Oops, I did that. So now that we have the tenon turned down, so I use, for my section threads, I use an M11 by 1. And so I've turned it down to just shy of 11 millimeters. I work on the metric. It's a heck of a lot easier, in my opinion, to do metric than imperial, at least for this. So I'm using a tap and die set and a die. Well, this is the die. I've got a matching tap. This isn't a die holder from Neil's Tools or Neil's Niche, Neil's Tools. I can't remember. So we're putting the threads on there. All right. So that's done. Let's clean all this off. Make sure everything looks good. So now the threads are done. I always do those first, and then we're going to come in and drill out the inside. Use my center drill, get the pilot hole started. Too much. There we go. That takes care of, so this end is where the ink converter is going to go. That'll fit right in there. Hey, Jonathan Ray, how are you? Thanks for jumping on. Oops. Oh, goodness. So this part's done, so I'm going to take it out of the chuck. So that's what that's going to look like right there. So I'm going to trim off the end here for the final. I always cut my pieces every size. Give me enough fluff. One, if I make a mistake, but well, really, that's the only reason. I was trying to come up with a second reason, but that's actually the only reason. Is if/when something goes crazy, I'll start all over. Let's see here. There we go. You'll see me brushing everything off the label all the time. I'm super picky. Gotta have everything off. A clean lathe is a happy lathe, in my opinion. So use a center bit again. Just to get everything lined up. My lathe is not exactly true, so I use the center bit a lot more than most, I think, on a wood lathe, just to make sure I get stuff aligned as much as possible. So that's going to be the shoulder cut for the nib. I'll show you, once I finish this, what that looks like, why it's important. Okay. So now that we've got all that drilled out, it's time to put the actual threads inside the section. So what that's going to look like. So that's going to show up. There we go. So I'm basically creating the inverse shape of this. And so we're about to put these threads on there right now. For that shoulder I drilled first, that captures this piece up here. I think it's like 2.5 millimeters, something like that. I've drilled through here, and I'm putting the threads on the section so that will actually fit in there. You don't really have a rhyme or reason how far I tap it. Especially like if this was a clear material, I'd be a little more concerned because you want to see you're going to see those threads, and I prefer not to have more threads than I actually need. In this case, you won't see it. So. All right. I'm just spraying some soapy water on there to clean off the part. And then we are going to air it out. Cool. All right, so now you'll see we're starting to resemble start of a pin. There you go. So we made that section piece, the nib is threaded in there nice and tight. And then that converter slips right in. So this shoulder, see, is that going to focus? I don't know how close I can get on this thing and have it focus. We'll see. But that shoulder right here, I like to make because that covers up this part of the converter. So it looks nice and clean. Even though you're never going to see this as you're using the pin, I like to have that look right there. I think it's pretty cool. All right. So that takes care of the section. We're going to move on to the body of the pin. I think I need another collet. Yeah. So a lot of the same steps you're going to see on the body as we did the sections. We're first going to take the square carbide cutter that I use, face off that. I'm going to bring this and get it chucked up so it's nice and sturdy before I cut the cap threads. So that's what we're working on right now. And get it up to speed, about 2400, 2450 RPM. It varies depending on what I do or where I get it set. Just taking out just a little bit. Get it flush. Center drill it, and so this time we're center drilling it first, so I can put the live center. That thing's gonna spin around. This dimension may change depending on your design of the pen, but I use about 7 millimeters. That seems to work pretty good. I like that sound. There we go. Maybe. I don't know. Make it work. I've actually not seen what this material looks like before. This is the first time working with it. I made it, gosh, probably a month ago. And just haven't had the time to work on it. So I get blacked out there for a minute. I guess I lost signal. Yeah, I probably got to boost my signal out here in the garage. It's a little weak. Perfect. So I like to just chamfer the edge a little bit, help with the threading. And I'm going to cut a similar relief just like we did in the section. Just enough. See how put that in. Come on. All right. So that step's done. So we're going to thread. These are the cap threads. We're going to thread those. So it's a lot of repetition, which is what I enjoy about the craft, is you can get a pattern, technique down, and refine it over time. Even if designs change a little bit, you add some elements like accent bands or rings. It's all kind of the same steps. Now these I take really slow just because you're going to see these threads as you're writing with the pen. So it's important that they cut clean, you don't get any tear out. All right, now we're going to come in, start doing the same steps on the body that we did on the section, drilling out the interior, and cutting a shoulder. Now this shoulder is going to help guide the section into the body. We don't really have to find where the seat is to get the threads going. It'll kind of snap right in. Center drill again. Get everything lined up. So that drill will set up the threads once we finish drilling out the body. Now comes the long one. My least favorite part of the process, because you got to go through the whole body. And it just takes a lot of time. So I use a dish soap and water solution to kind of keep things pretty cool. It's cheaper than using any kind of petroleum-based lubricant. And not as messy. One drawback is you got to make sure the lathe stays clean, because you get the water on there, of course, you're going to start rusting. Which sometimes happens. keep that running, clean off the bit, and we'll keep going. Let's see. It doesn't tell me. Huh. See if we can finish this one off. All right. So you're going to clean off the inside. So we have a clean surface to cut the threads. Should work. Oops. All right. So it finishes off the body. I'm just cleaning out the inside, make sure there's nothing. Yeah, you see there's a bunch. Sometimes as I'm drilling, it'll pack all this swarf and extra material down in there, so things won't work later when I try to put on the lathe to turn it. All right. I think my compressor should be kicking. Okay. So that'll just, I was going a little too fast. So you'll see that'll just sit right in there because of that shoulder that just drops. Because I've got a shoulder, a relief cut into here. I've got this shoulder here, and those just kind of mate together like that and make it a lot easier. It's a little tight because I just turned it, but those connect just like that. And there you are. So that's the raw form of the pin section body. Now we're going to move on to the cap. Same thing, we're going to face off the blank to get ready for drilling. So we drilled that relief. So that relief in the cap is actually going to lessen the amount of turns that it takes to cap the pin. Because with the single start threads that I use, it takes a little bit longer. You can do double and triple starts. They'll of course make it cap quicker, but I prefer the singles just because they have a better look with my design. They're a little bit easier to polish. Oops. So you always want to check the dimensions as you're getting ready for the cap. Even though I'm pretty consistent, I double check every time just to make sure we don't end up with an issue later. Now we're going to finish off. Oops. So this drill is going to be creating the room in the cap for the nib to rest. Good. So these threads I'm using are, well, all my pins use 15 millimeter cap threads. So they're a little bit larger. I've done 14 and 13 in the past. I prefer working with the 15. There we go. So the cap has two steps to it. Overall steps, I guess. One was the inside, and then now I will work on the outside to make the recess for my finial coin that has my logo. So I'm going to do that as well. So we're going to trim off the excess and then work on the, actually didn't sound good. That'll work. Trim that off and work on the end to get that recess cut in. We're going to cut in just a little bit of a hole. So I don't want to punch a hole in the cap, but I need to create the center. I'm just going to guide cutting in the recess. So do just a little bit, and then I use an end mill to actually cut the full recess in there. So just enough to kind of guide it where I need it to be. I'll use the center bit one more time because I do need to be able to put my live center on there to hold it while I'm turning. So it's just enough. Should be good. All right, so that gives us the cap. So that's just going to thread on. Well, I've got it upside down. So you'll see that shoulder in there, it'll sit in. We've got maybe two, it's probably what, 2 millimeters? A little small, yeah. It's a little tighter. It's a little more, well, okay, I had it already threaded some, but yeah. So that helps to get it threaded, guided in there, and you're good to go. Same thing, it drops right in, threaded. That's the final You can kind of see that there. That's the final raw pen. The next steps are what I'll do next is end up sanding these threads, cleaning them up, polishing them, and polishing the inside. So I need to get set up for that next. Get this all done. The goal is to hopefully finish this pen today, but I just got back from a long business trip, so I'm not entirely sure I'll be up for it. We'll see how far I can get. I think we'll just start here. So I do some sanding on the outside and sanding on the inside. A little bit of double duty. So this is just to give it a cleaner finished product. So I treat the sandpaper just like a tool as well as it is a finishing product, because I can still shape parts of the pen with the sandpaper. So you'll see I've got certain things I'll do with some pieces and some grits of sandpaper that I don't do with other ones. I'm using it to create that final piece, the final look that I'm going for. Yeah, oh, sandpaper. Alright, so with the outside sanding, I do a little bit of detail work on this shoulder and on the threads. On the interior, Just to give it, you will see this as you're taking the what am I trying to say? As you're taking out the section and converter to fill it, so I want it to look nice. Right. So there's the outside and the inside. There it goes. So I'm going to clean off the threads now. The finish on this one's going to be matte, but I've found I don't really like the feel of the threads when I leave them matte, so this time we're going to polish them all the way through. Let's see what that looks like. I think it's going to be better. Be a little bit of a contrast. I mean, you have a really, really matte, no gloss finish compared with the polished threads, but I think it's going to feel better using it, I think. All right. I'm gonna do one more batch of the finer polish on these. Hopefully you can kind of see shining up a little bit on the camera. Last bit of polish. Gonna clean everything off. So I'll show you, you can get a good idea. Maybe, I don't know. You kind of see, I can't tell if it's focusing or not, but you should be able to see how dull the section is compared to the cap threads. So that's what this, should I finish this first? This process does. That's not what I want. Uh-oh. I put that in the wrong. In the wrong container. There we go. It's a lot of steps to keep up with. The same as the cap threads. We're going to polish that, or not really polish, it's not truly polishing it, I'm just sanding off the rough edges of the shoulder in here. Just to take some of the tooling marks that were left behind from the drilling. Now this one I'm not going to polish anything because I want that lip of the cap to be matte finish. That one's done. It's good. So the last step before we can turn it is to sand and polish the section tenon threads on the back. And just using the sandpaper as a tool. Just as I use the carbides. You have a little more control when you do the sandpaper than if you tried to do any of that with a tool. Hey, Alexandra, how are you? Thanks for jumping on. Okay. I think I'm done with that. Let's see. Finish cleaning up pins so you get to YouTube. I can understand that. I spent most of the day being lazy because I was on a work trip most of the week. Got home yesterday and I was like, I'm beat. So I literally didn't even come out here until about 6 o'clock today. I could not function. That was with like a bunch of coffee too. I still couldn't function. I'm not like really a people person by nature, so I was around like 10,000 people, which is not my favorite, but has to be done. So so I'm just polishing this one up, same as we did the cap threads rather. Oh yeah, I can imagine at the end of a pin show. I can do like what I'm doing right now. I can be behind the camera. It'll be totally fine. If I got to be like in front of people, in front of the camera, Oops, come on. That's not for me. I'm hoping to get this polished, hoping I can turn it real quick so we can actually get through the whole kind of preliminary setup process. It doesn't much look like a fountain pen right now. It's got the makings of a fountain pen, but cool. All right. So that's good to go. I'm going to get all this junk out of the way so we can actually do the fun stuff. Oh, oops, I totally forgot. Got slightly, a little bit more. I just started adding this to my process, and so I tend to forget that I added it, which is kind of silly, but that's the way it goes. So what this is doing is taking off some of the rough edges from the tooling with the drill bits going through, so that when you load it with the converter and everything, it'll go in smoothly. It won't feel as rough with the edges of the converter and stuff. Makes a big difference. At least I think so. It's also easier to do it before I turn the pen because the blank is still straight. And so you can make sure and get all the edges off. Make it a little more even. One more round. This time with the cap. Oops. Same as the body. This is just softening up those edges. All right, at long last, we are ready to turn this thing. Do one more center drill on the end. And that's for holding the blank in place. Should be good. Almost went a little too far. Should work. Okay. Now we get to the fun part. It's going to be actually shaping the fountain pen. This is a Tucker fountain pen. So I only make two fountain pens, the Tucker and the Tucker 48. The Tucker 48 is an eyedropper model. And then the Tucker, same design, but it uses, same basic design, overall profile, and uses a cartridge converter, international converter. There we go. So like I said earlier, I've not actually seen this material turn because I just poured it maybe a month ago. So I'll be curious to see what it looks like. I'm trying to get the rough shape and everything even before I start dialing in. The final dimension. Here we go, big reveal. Oh, that's beautiful. Curious how, oh yeah, that comes out real good on camera. Very, very nice. I think I'm gonna try. I feel like I can. Pretty sure. I'm gonna try something. We're gonna see what happens. Oh, that's kind of cool. There we go. Did that work? Oh, it even worked. Huh, that's so cool. So you can see, yeah, the resolution is not great because this is the free version of StreamYard. So, but yeah, it's a really, really pretty look. I'm happy with that. Cool. All right, so now that I've kind of got a rough shape going, I'm going to check my dimensions. See that I get the right profile. I'm a little off. That didn't feel good. Oh no! So I've got the right profile. I've got an air bubble in here, which is not cool. Hopefully that's going to go away. I still got a little bit more to take down. I was afraid when I poured this material, it was a little late getting it in the pot, pressure pot. Oh, there's two now. That's not good. Bummer. We'll see what happens. I can at least get it turned. I'm gonna have to fix that hole. That's kind of the danger when you're mixing at high temperatures, because I waited on this to be able to get as much figure as I could. The danger is that when you do that, air bubbles can start to get trapped as the resin cures, and so you're going to get stuck with these little pockets. They're easy to fix. I use a cyanacrylate or CA or super glue, more common name. It's just a pain. Oh, that's a big one. What is that? All right, we're gonna get nerdy. Probably won't see it on camera, but I got to put a loop on. See what's going on here. So that looks like. And that's just the texture. That one there. One more somewhere. I haven't gotten rid of one, which would be nice. Right there. That one might be it. Yeah, that's it. That one, I think that one's gonna go away. I still got 0.5 millimeter, but I don't think it's gonna be enough to cover it, which is unfortunate. Let's see. It'll be worth it though, because the texture on this really something else. I hope I don't run into that on the cap. I don't have as much flexibility on the cap. I do. I'm kind of cutting it close on the dimensions to see if I can at least get rid of one of these. I don't know if I can. We'll see. So I'm going to check first the dimension. A little bit more I can take off. See what the profile is. It's pretty good. A little bit more on the end. I think I did get rid of one, which is perfect. Oh, no, it's right there. So we'll fix that. Should be it there. Just kind of smoothing out the profile. Feels like they kind of might match right there. Yes, that one. So there's two. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that real quick. I'm just making the hole a little bit bigger. That's the downside of using CA glue, is it oftentimes gets clogged. It's not helpful. So I may not be able to do that right now. I'm gonna leave that because I gotta unclog it, but I got the holes drilled, so that's the important part. So I think, yeah, we're pretty good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and part this off, go to the cap, and I'll work on filling the holes later. Make sure my dimension is good. Yeah, it'll work. Yeah, it is a fun color mix, Alexandra. I done blue separately. Yeah, you can see. Oh, I think there's one there, one air hole, one right there. Urgh. But yeah, one day I was messing with the blue one. And I was like, oh, I could do a two color. I hadn't tried a two color before. Because the Graphlex, which is what that material is, started out as a monochrome material with no color. And then I don't even know why I got the idea to try it, but I mixed it with some color and it really came out nice. So as I've had time, I've been experimenting with other colors and combinations and stuff. A little bit over. Oops, I didn't check. Need to check what that is. Yeah, we got some room. There we go. Hopefully we don't get any weird bubbles on this one, but we'll see what happens. looks really cool. Interesting swirling right there. So far no bubbles, which is good. This thing's giving me some trouble. Oops, 16. Oh, it's a little off. That's not cool. Ugh. Let's see. There's something funky for me right here. Not sure why. I'll have to fix it when I sand it. Yeah, I think I can make it work. One more on here. All right, yeah. Can't go anymore. Ah, what happened? Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, it's kind of, We're gonna have to get creative here. So when I sanded the threads on the interior, it kind of took away my shoulder. So now it's not threading properly. I'm going to have to cut it from this side. Oops, and hope that I don't mess this up. Let's see what that does. Hopefully be a little better. Yeah, that's good. Basically what was happening is it was seating too far into the cap and wouldn't have threaded properly, but we got it. Cool. So that's what that looks like. So we're going to finish off. My last trick for the night will be this section. It didn't look like there were any air bubbles in that one, which is good. Come on. Right. So we're going to rough this down to close to the final size. I'm going to shape it. So this material is a combination of the two colors, the blue and the copper, that are in the Graphlex already. So there's kind of an accent piece in there to it. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. Ooh, right on the money. So I just pencil in where I kind of want my profiles to be, the contours rather. And then just kind of wing it. A little bit more to go. Section always usually goes pretty quick. Now for the final assembly, check the fit and finish of everything so far. So it's just going to snap in there. Yeah, it feels really good. Goes right in. So even these aren't even lapped together, which is just a way of mating these threads together, and you can already see being polished how easy it is to thread, which is what I'm going for. Yeah, that was really close. I'm glad I saw that. A little too far on the threading, I think. That's all right. Cool. So that is the final rough. I'm not sure that's in focus. That's the final rough shape of the pen. Next, it'll go to sanding, and since this is a matte finish, I won't be polishing, just the sanding. There we go. Still got to fix those bubbles, but super easy. I'll get that done tonight or tomorrow and be off to the races. So, cool. Dismantle this. I think that's going to be it for tonight. There we go. I'll try and set that thing up to dry with the CA glue. And get to finishing that. All right. Bruce, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. So I think it's going to wrap up this episode of the Craft of Analog. I appreciate everyone for joining in. I'll have this posted on YouTube. So if you didn't get to see the live stream, you can go back and watch it in all of its glory. I'm going to keep doing these probably once a week, live streams. I may throw in some videos, just a regular video, but mostly this is going to be live streaming. I'm trying to migrate everything from Instagram over to here. It's better format, better technology to use. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the page if you haven't already. If you have, I really appreciate that, and I hope you share with your pen friends and people who are interested in this kind of thing. Check out my website, Jason Neal Penworks, for any available pens I've got. I've got a couple right now. I've also got some materials. And I am on Instagram. I post a lot on there and chat with people. So be sure to check that out. It's all Jason Neal Penworks. So thanks again, y'all. Appreciate it. And I will catch y'all later.